Tonight on Game Night, Word Spies, Rusty, Nikki, Lincoln, and myself, Dave, are going to play Codenames, a game for 2 or more players, published by Czech Games Edition and designed by Vlaada Chvátil. So let's code some names? No?
Hey David,
Lincoln?
will you teach us Codenames?
Yes, Codenames is a party word game, I guess. You play in teams. In this case, we're playing teams of 2. And the object of the game for your team is to get your words before the other team gets their words. Each team, the starting team will have 9 of these words to get. The other team will have 8 of these words to get. You know that based on this little card right here. So one of these cards is going to be put in, it doesn't matter which way, it's just random when you put it in. And it's going to be put in that little plastic thing that you and Rusty have in front of you. And so if this is face up towards you, and if you guys are red, then the first thing you're going to need to know is that you start first because you have the little red outline, which means you'll also get this. So you'll have 9 words to get. And Rusty and I will have 8 words to get, the blue words. So you're trying to give clues so that Nikki guesses these words that are in red, in this case, pirate, plot, snowman, it's as oriented toward you, right? And Rusty is trying to get me to get the blue words, and both of you are trying to avoid either of us picking this assassin. If I pick this assassin based on one of Rusty's clues, then we immediately lose, and you guys win. Otherwise, it's just a race to who gets all their words first. How you get your partner to guess words is you give a 1-word clue followed by a number. So if you had, say, Canada, and you had England, and those were your 2, then you could say country, and then you would say 2. And the number indicates how many cards on this board relate to the clue you just gave. So Nikki would know, okay, there are 2 cards out here that Lincoln thinks relates to the word country, and in this case, well, obviously, England.
And Jupiter.
And Canada. And she would indicate those are her guesses by physically touching a card. That's an important rule, which is she's allowed to kind of hover and point, and that rule becomes more important when you play the game with
fussy people?
No, 6 people, okay. In which one person is giving clues and 2 people on a team are guessing. In which case they can talk, well, I don't know, in the circle, fall, mint, but until a card is physically touched, it's not picked. So you pick cards one at a time, and in this case, if if Nikki touched England, and that was correct, we're doing this the opposite, is that how you want to do it? This card would get covered, because that's correct. And now, she has 2 choices. She can stop, or she can keep guessing. You always have to make at least 1 guess, but you do not have to make the maximum number of guesses. So, she's pretty sure the other one is London, so she guesses London.
And it's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's
Canada.
right. And now...
Because it's Canada, by the way, but yeah.
Thank you, Canada. I went to London, England. And now, believe it or not, she still has 2 options. She can stop, or she can guess 1 more. Now, she's not going to in this case, but you are always allowed to guess 1 more than the number that your partner has fed you, and where that comes into play is in later rounds if you think you got one that you messed up from before.
That we missed previously.
Correct. Now,
so you could say UK, right, and that would be London.
Well, there's a perfect example. Your clue must be 1 word, and a UK would be 2 words.
Okay.
It would be an acronym for more than 1 word, and that does not count as legal.
Okay.
The clue givings, the rules for clues is that the clues must be 1 word. The exception to that is proper nouns. You can say a complete name. You can say George Washington.
So United Kingdom is not a complete name?
guess United Kingdom would be a proper noun and would be allowed by the rules. The rules, it's interesting. The rules basically say be strict but not too strict, which is to say figure out how your group ultimately wants to play that portion of the rule.
Right.
But they are specific as to the things you can't do. You cannot give just a normal 2-word clue. You can't give a clue that has any portion of any of these words on the board. And that includes weird portions like gland You can't give the clue gland if England's on the board. Now, once it's covered up, you can, because it's no longer visible. But for example, you could not use snow or man while snowman is on the board.
Wow, okay.
All right? It's not that hard, actually. Nor can you use any form of a word on the board. So fall is on the board, you couldn't say fell. You couldn't use like a past or different variation on a word that exists. But again, once it's covered up, you can. All right? You can't give any clues that are about letters, like starting letters, but you could give the clue, say, X, if ray were on the board, as in X-ray. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You can't say 3, 2, meaning, hey, look, there's 2 3-letter words on the board.
Oh, okay.
But if octopus were on the board, you could say 8. As long as the number or letter you're giving relates thematically to the word you're trying to get and not literally to the word you're trying to get. Does that make sense? You can go, your clue, by the way, can relate to the words in completely different ways. If I said slimy 2, I might be trying to point you towards slug and lawyer. Okay? So they can relate in different ways. If I said to you ring, okay, and I said, say 3, there's way more than 3 cards here that relate to ring. And I know because I've set this board up. For example, circle could be ring, Jupiter could be ring, diamond could be ring, right? Washer could be ring. I mean, again, it all depends on how your partner also interprets them.
Ringworm.
Ringworm. Ringworm, there's a perfect example, right? And yes, compound phrases like that are perfectly valid as long as you think your partner can get them. You could say snail to indicate both slug and mail, as in the phrase snail mail. You cannot do just rhyming word. I can't say like pie to represent I, right? But I could say snail for mail because snail mail is a legitimate connection. If
we make that.
If whale was on the board, I could say snail for whale because they are both animals. There needs to be a legitimate connection. You'll find for the most part you're not going to do that anyway. The important thing in this game is not just to find connections the way you can put words together, but to make sure you're looking for other false positives that aren't there. If there were like 3 animals on the board, like if lion, and I guess slug could be an animal, and worm, if 2 of those were your words, you couldn't just say animal 2. You could take a chance. Now, I didn't explain this, but let's say Rusty gives me a clue, something, let's say Rusty says ring 3. And I go, all right, well, diamond ring. And let's say that isn't our word. Let's say we're blue and that's not our word. If it's the other team's word, it gets covered by your color, because I just picked a word. If it's a neutral word, it gets covered by the neutral person. And by the way, both of these are male-female on either side, so you can pick whatever gender you want. The minute, however, something gets covered that isn't our color, my turn is over. I can't guess any further past that.
So even the neutral one is a...
Neutral stops my turn immediately dead in its tracks. So even though he said 3, I can't keep going.
Right.
There are 2 expert rules that we're going to play because they're really actually fairly simple. One of them is you are allowed as a clue giver to give the number 0. And when you give 0 after a clue, it essentially means not. So if I were to say animal 0, that means not animals. That means not lion and not slug and not worm. It doesn't necessarily tell you what I'm trying to make you guess. But remember, maybe I'm giving that to Rusty because I've already given him 4 or 5 other clues during the game that he has gotten some of, but not all. And maybe he's figured out at this point, oh, that's what Dave meant 2 turns ago when he said ring. And maybe I can now give him a not that will allow him to figure that out. Additionally, when you give 0, your partner can guess as long as they want. Okay?
Wow.
It's essentially an unlimited number of guesses. And the other expert rule is also the same thing, which is you can give a clue and then say unlimited. I can say ring unlimited. And what that means is, what it really means is the other team is likely going to win on their next turn. and I'm giving you a chance to guess as many times as you need to so that we can maybe win. You might just psychically find the right cards. Okay? They added, I think, that rule because people were sort of doing that anyway. Which is to say, let's say you guys were 1 away from winning and we needed 4. Whatever clue Rusty gives me, he's going to say 4. But unlimited is a way of letting me know that the clue he's giving me does not necessarily relate to those 4 words. As opposed to, if he said ring 4, I might try to find 4 cards that relate to ring. If he says ring unlimited, I know some relate to ring, but the others might not.
You just have 4 more that you need to get.
Correct. It's as I see it, it's just a Hail Mary way of saying, probably because in playtesting people were doing that anyway. If you see the other team has 1 or 2 to go, and remember, Lincoln, you'll know what Rusty's words are, and Rusty, you'll know what Lincoln's words are. So if you see that Rusty has 2 left, and they happen to be London, England, or like England, Canada, you know Rusty's going to get those on his next turn.
Right.
That is essentially the game. That is one game. Usually what we do is we will flip these cards over because they have words on the back of them as well. So we'll play one where you guys give clues. We'll flip them over and we'll play one where we give clues. And we usually play that as a game.
Okay.
So now that I've used all these as an example, let's get rid of them all. And I'll put out new cards and we can start. Okay, we've set up the board. And speaking of board, let me explain another thing that I forgot, which is, here's board. That was on our first thing, our first setup. You cannot give homonym clues. For example, I could not give you like tired or lethargic for this clue for bored, because that's bored, B-O-R-E-D, or uninterested for bored. The example they use in the book for is you can't use the word night, K-N-I-G-H-T, for cluing the word night, N-I-G-H-T. Or if you mean night. Like if evening is out there and armor is out there, you couldn't say night too for evening and armor because you are technically not using the same word for both of those cards. Along those lines, you are allowed to spell out a clue. So if you were to give the clue night, you could say K-N-I-G-H-T, night. It's just so your partner knew. And as guessers, we are always allowed to ask our partners to spell clues. And I think that's everything. So I don't know who goes first, because you guys have the card.
Let's find out.
Oh, while you're doing that, I didn't explain the timer because we rarely use it. If someone is taking too long to give a clue, or if someone is taking too long to guess, you are allowed to essentially put a timer on them, in which case they have this long before they have to give their clue or make a guess. I think that's 30 seconds, but I don't know. But we've never needed it.
Okay.
So is blue or red first?
It's red.
So you guys get the extra one. And you also give the first clue. And go ahead and take, this is usually the slowest turn in the game, is the very first one, as you try to look at everything and figure out what your words are and how you can relate and stuff like that. So how you doing, Nikki?
Yeah, I'm reading the cards. I'm
Yeah,
preparing myself.
Ugh.
And what's your number?
9. Ugh, 9.
It's tough. Sometimes you just get crap.
Okay. Dental 2. Oof. See now. The horribleness.
I do it all the time, Lincoln. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, I'm gonna say drill.
Gotta touch it.
Touching
Okay, that is correct.
now.
Now you can guess a second one, or you cannot. All right. You're gonna make me do this.
What?
I don't know
What?
Rusty
What?
did it.
How dare you, Rusty?
I want to say.
And that's wrong.
That's what I would have said. I would have said that too. But here's the thing.
That was the one I saw after I gave
But here's the thing.
Okay.
You know for the rest of the round, there's still a second dentist one out there, right?
Dentist one.
Did you say dentist or dental?
dental.
So there's a second dental one out there. That's okay because remember
That's why I
you can
didn't say
pick
dentist,
it. You
right?
can pick it next time if you want, or you can save it to the end.
All right.
Remember, you're always allowed to pick one more than what he says.
I know what it is now.
All right. Well, that's fine.
No, then they know it's not that, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, if we're going to talk, tell me what you think it is.
No.
All right. Can I tell you? Never mind. Go ahead.
And it doesn't matter.
No.
It could be brush, but it could be tube.
Could also be doctor, right?
It could also be doctor.
That was the other one I said.
Well, I didn't even see doctor.
That's what I'm
Yes.
saying.
Well,
You
but
said
you
it,
said,
and I'm like,
but here's the deal. You said dental, and you didn't say dentist.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I didn't think doctor. If we're pseudo cheating right now. Yes, Rusty.
Horse 2.
Horse 2. Horse 2. Huh. I'm gonna say fly? Horse fly?
That is correct. I can't reach it, but yeah.
Horse 2.
Wow, there's others on there that
I know.
I would not have said that clue. Same thing that I just did.
Whip?
That is correct.
Oh. Okay.
I won't tell you what I thought.
I almost didn't take my guess, but
Okay, Nikki.
Yeah.
Let me make sure those are mine.
that happens all the time.
Ugh. It's hard to do in one word. Church 2. Gosh, I hope it's none of the others. Sucks, because there's others that'll work, of course.
That's one of the brilliant designs of the game.
Do I have to choose
You have
right
to-
now
You have
from
to touch.
his
Nope. You can touch
clue,
any.
or
You can touch.
I
You can
If
do
you
the previous
think
one.
carrot is one of your words, you can touch it right now.
Okay.
You can touch any word you want.
Okay, I would like to do brush first.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. That's one. Would you like to keep going?
Yes.
Okay.
And mass.
Okay.
Oop.
Now you are allowed to go one more if you want, because you can always go one more than the number was given to you. Do you want to do that, or do you want to wait?
And I would like to say grace.
Yeah, that's totally the one I would have picked. What? Well, I'm with you, Nikki.
You should know better than me.
Flute 2.
But I said that's one that absolutely could.
Flute. Flute. Flute? Flute 2. Flute. Oh, can't be that. There's no way it's that. All right, let's try this. Let's go for wind,
That is correct.
and then I'm going to stop.
Yeah, I don't know what the second one is. I'm
I
trying to figure it
don't
out
either. I barely wanted to pick wind.
Yeah. Did break wind?
Well, it's like a woodwind is what I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
thinking, or like blowing, but that could be wind as well, right? That word that could be for watch. You could say wind. It's how you read the card.
I can point out other things that it absolutely applies to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, Death 2.
What?
Death 2.
Death too.
Death.
Well, wake.
I like it.
I can't touch
I like
though.
it.
Blank.
Yeah, it's got to be. Nice.
Did you want to take another guess?
Oh yeah, you can guess one more if you want, beyond the two that you're... No.
I would like more information, please.
Because, for example, the church one could still be out there, or you might have just covered it.
Yeah.
The Lincoln is not allowed to tell you one way or the other if you've done that or not. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And in general, while Rusty's thinking, you're not allowed to do things like, ugh, this is not a great clue. Any sort of like qualifier before or after is potential extra information. Although I believe we allow ugh.
Yeah.
Sometimes just randomly the cards just work either really for you or really against you, just depending on which are yours and which aren't yours. And I've seen people give clues where they get like are you ready?
No. Please. Please keep speaking.
I'll speak for you too. I've seen people give clues where they give like something 4, and the 4 are kind of obvious, and it just happens to be that they just happen to have not only 4 cards that relate, but that were all your color.
Poacher 2.
Poacher. Okay, well, there's no eggs out there. Poacher 2. Well, ivory.
That is correct.
Oof, Rusty. Poacher. It's one of those two. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna go for pistol.
That is correct.
Oof. And the other thing that's cool about this game, while Lincoln is thinking, is that while it's likely if you are, say, way behind and someone who is way ahead might win, the assassin is the brilliant. You can still just lose the game by picking the wrong card, no matter how far ahead you are, right?
Yeah. Right.
And again, that also sometimes randomly works out where the assassin is like the easiest card in the world to avoid
Yeah.
on the board, or sometimes the assassin is the world's worst card to have. It relates to like everything.
Music 2.
Okay. Conductor.
I like it. And you got one more, unless you want to stop.
Horn.
Yeah, I almost picked that for poacher.
I know.
That's what I was thinking.
I
too.
was
I was
thinking
like,
that
is that
too.
what-
And for flute, I almost picked that for
I was
flute
like,
as well.
is that his card? Because I was like,
Okay.
poacher. I'm like, ooh.
I felt like if it was, my thought process was, I felt like if it was ivory and horn, he would have given me like tusk.
That's
Right?
true.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
2-2.
It's close.
It is.
He's going to do the 0 right now. So you can.
Well, the 0 wouldn't help me, right? It would only tell me not. It wouldn't tell me
Yeah.
what.
I hope you make a connection because I can't see it.
Don't throw me off, Rusty. That's a screen capture right there of you.
Yeah.
We'll make some meme out of that face you have right now.
Put little angel wings back there and
Yeah,
a
or
halo.
something. Or just more like, I have plans for you.
There's that too.
All right, just give me something.
Dining 1.
Dining 1. All right. Dining 1. That would be dining? I mean, it has to be this, right? Okie doke. And I am not going to guess a second one.
You would be right not to. Well, I don't know. He did give you a clue.
Well, technically, unless I've covered it by some other clue, there may be still one out here that relates to flute.
There is? I guess there is, but I cannot.
But it might not be.
Tell me what that is.
I might have covered, but I also might have covered it.
Yeah, okay.
It might have been taken up by a different clue.
Okay, Nikki.
Yeah, boy, howdy.
Location 2.
Wow. Interesting.
Oh my god.
I know.
There's
I'm with
3
you.
of them right here.
That's what he wants. He wants you to have the best 2 out of 3 shot at it. I think that's smart.
I'm worried to pick the first one.
Of course.
Because I don't
But it doesn't
want
matter. It's
It
a
doesn't
game.
matter.
Yeah.
the first one to explode.
It's very
and then
easy for
it'd
them
be
to
like,
solve it.
oh my gosh, I should have done the other one first.
Right. He's actually, I think you're actually doing the right thing. You're giving your team your best shot at
It
it.
has
right
to.
now.
That's what we could do. I couldn't
Yep.
do a single.
Yep. That's what I would have touched. All right, Nikki P for the game.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm with you.
It's one of those 2. E.
You can't look at me.
Yeah, that's so great. Wait, for the record, what was the third? Don't you say? What did you have in your mind for the third one?
Capital.
Yeah, but it's TOL. Capital.
Okay.
Oh,
Ah,
yes.
love it.
There.
So before you tell me, was this the flute?
Perception.
No, that's why I couldn't believe he gave that clue.
I
Because
almost took
that's
that
the
for the flute.
assassin. I couldn't believe it. I want to know what your other flute was. I'm like, oh my god, he's
Hang
gonna-
on, hang on.
Oh,
Oh, the other flute got covered. Ivory. Oh, see, so it was covered. I want to let you know. I for the flute thought it was tube for sure, and the only reason I didn't pick it was I thought at that point, because we were one ahead of you, I just thought, well, let me just.
Oh my
let me
god,
just hold back.
I was like so excited. I thought for sure it was over.
Here's the thing. In my mind, for some reason, that word was tuba.
When
Oh my
you said
God.
flute, I thought wind, horn, tube. Oh, can't be horn. Wind, tube. So I went wind, and then I thought, let me just wait. I can save tube for later. That's
Yeah, that was the
hilarious.
assassin. I was like praying you'd pick it. I wanted to remind you that he'd said 2 ivory just on the 2 flute. Just to get...
Oh, believe me, you know I didn't forget that.
Stone.
Stone was the last one?
Stone.
Tablet?
Or
Yes.
iPad, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you just say aspirin? Why would you? Because that could be doctor.
Could be doctor. It just didn't connect in. I was trying to find
Aspirin would
But
be
yeah, you
doctor.
see, I was worried because it's. I think were you confused on that one as well, or
Nope.
did you? Okay.
Nope.
But
I
yeah,
actually
capital.
thought stock could have been an answer for your location. Because
Yeah.
I'm like thinking industry terms.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. It's just funny.
No.
I was like, that was like my problem. I'm like, oh wow, these are all 3 potential. If you misunderstand.
I
the
mean,
word.
I'm glad I didn't pick tube, but there's a part of me, just for purposes of the game, I wish
Yeah.
I'd picked tube just as the. Just
Well,
as
I
the-
was like flipping out when he picked it because I didn't see it as ivory for the flute.
Interesting you'd say flipping
what
out.
was the drop dead one on?
That's
it?
the same tube. That was
Oh, it
one.
was, okay.
That was the point.
That was the assassin.
It
I
could
was
have been
hoping-
horrible.
Okay,
That's
is
awesome.
That.
That's funny.
All right. So we'll play one more of these. And you guys will stay red just for purposes of not confusing anybody.
Yeah.
Can I have the stand, please?
You may.
Wow, that's funny.
See?
So cool you picked it.
It was really
correctly.
close.
Okay, we don't have all these
And
flips.
Nikki, you get to go first. So start looking now.
Well, they're not there yet. So.
You get the extra.
Oof.
Oh, I came that close to picking two. I guess you should shut up and look at what our words are.
Yeah.
I just thought for sure. I'm like, oh my gosh, he picked 2.
Obviously, I know. I almost did it. And you obviously, you can't give any clues that are location. Like you can't say center to mean like the middle card, that kind of thing.
Oh, who's starting?
Nikki is starting. Red there.
Excellent.
Red is once again starts.
Are there any blue cards in that game?
Yeah, plenty.
I'm teasing.
I didn't shuffle.
Are you kidding?
It doesn't matter who starts. You're actually an advantage, I think, when you start, right?
With one extra.
It's one. They give you one extra thing, but you still get.
He didn't shuffle.
I didn't. It didn't occur to me. It didn't occur to me. Oof, as Lincoln likes to say.
Ugh.
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 Agreed. These are terrible. Hey, flute.
I know, I saw that.
I only just saw that.
Tube though. Oh my god! I was just like,
I was
what is
this
he
close.
doing?
I was this close.
I was just. I couldn't believe he picked it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so close.
You know, I can't read. It just said tuba to me.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Animal 3.
What? It's outrageous.
I can do that, right?
Dog, yes, you can. Dog is correct. Octopus is correct. Bat is correct.
Nice job, Nikki P.
That's a bunch of crap.
Would you like to take another guess?
How dare you? So this is what I was talking about before, right? There just happens to not be another animal, and all three just happen to be you.
Yeah. That was lucky, I think.
Yep. But here we go.
It's funny though, because I didn't think of it as an animal when I saw it come out. I thought it was a baseball bat, right? You know,
Yeah. No, that's how I was thinking of it first.
All right, Rusty. Brawl 2.
Brawl 2.
Ooh.
Without a question, fighter.
I guess we should do this.
Put them
Why
on
don't
the
you
spin.
take my color and I'll take your
Okay.
color.
Correct.
Brawl. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's the one that makes the most amount of sense with it. I'm going to say revolution.
You mean cover that with this.
Oh.
I think I know what it is.
Oh, I know what it is.
I love it. I hope you're both wrong. Even though I don't hope you're wrong, there is a part of me that hopes you are. These are terrible. I want to trade words.
Okay.
Oh, that's not bad.
That was my best one.
Yeah, that was a good starting one. Now, there are some people who would argue you should have
Save that one.
for later.
I don't know if
Um,
that's.
I guess, in a way, because it kind of helps you guys too, right? There's
Yeah, the more
Less for
static you
you.
leave, the harder it may be, right? That's some philosophy is to not get big ones like that. But it's hard to pass up, especially if you see it. And B, I think there's something emotionally also to be gained from Lincoln picking 3 and being right.
Yeah.
And it puts the pressure on. In this particular case, none of these were going to be false positives for me anyway. So,
Climbing 1.
Climbing 1.
indeed. With no clues whatsoever, would you like to pick another one?
No.
Okay. All right, Rusty.
Sadly, there was 2 that could have been.
Yeah, why didn't you pick the other one? Security 2.
Oh. See, I see 3 on this that could be tied to that. I'm going to go with the clearest one right now, which I see is lock.
That's your job, Nikki P.
Oh, where are we?
That's a blue. Right
Yeah,
here.
it is correct.
There you go.
Oh, now I see 4.
Is flute one of them?
No, I would say tube for that.
Oh, wow. Let's give it a shot. It's just a game. Card.
All right, there we go.
Oh, I'm doing excellent. I'm just... Here, let me clear out. But see, at least I'm not picking yours.
That's correct.
I'm not picking yours.
All right. That's funny. It's terrible.
His turn is done.
Pen 2. Yep.
Nice. What do you got left there, Nikki? You got that, and that, and that. Okay. Huh. All right. Zeus 1.
Your job, Nikki. Should you choose to
Sorry.
flip?
I'm trying to think.
He's gonna maybe guess.
He can do one more if he
I can
wants.
do one more, and I'm not sure whether I want to. They have 3 left. I think I'm going to... Wait, you're still doing ones.
That's the first one I've done. I'm
I know.
still doing ones.
I know, but it's so early to be doing ones. I'm still going to pass.
Okay.
So you're allowed one, but if he said 2, because of previous clues, so you said whatever you just said, Olympus 3.
Right, but Olympus 3 says 3 of those, or Zeus. Zeus 3 says 3 cards relate to Zeus.
Okay.
And I didn't want to throw him off that way.
Right, I understand.
Only 1 card relates to Zeus.
Okay.
But I know that he has other clues that he's not made, so I'm giving him the chance to pick up 2 instead of 1. He chose to not do that.
In other words, but what are you saying? So if he
He could have still picked from my other clues.
had
Remember,
done both of them?
just 1.
Okay.
You're always allowed to guess one more than I
okay.
gave.
That's what I'm saying. Just saying because there's some other ones that are floating out there.
Right.
He couldn't guess 2 more somehow.
I could give him a 1 this turn and a 1 next turn, and that could result in 4 correct answers
That's
from
true,
us.
that's true.
If he does 1 plus 1 and the next turn
Right,
did 1
right.
plus 1. He opted to not guess at all.
Right, he's nervous.
That's fine. It's totally fine.
Did I give you enough time, Nikki?
It's going to be tough, though. It's going to be tough. If they get 2 of these,
Right.
then I'm going to have to just give him, he's just going to have to guess. Right? For me, I would have taken I think waiting was wrong. I would have taken the 1 because that at least helps me in a direction.
True.
But that's fine. It's all ugly regardless. Our words have just been pretty bizarre.
Words.
That's okay. Lincoln's going to pick one of our words right now.
That's right. He is.
I can't do that. Shoot. Pickled 2.
Yes. Yes! Nicely done, Nikki. That was a great clue. All right, here we go. It's not good. All right, so I am going to say... All right, Rusty.
Yes.
It's terrible. Elephant? Unlimited.
Elephant.
Wow.
Unlimited. Okay.
I'll
well,
just get these ready. Here we go. All right. You got 4 more to go.
Yes.
Yes.
Security?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I really shouldn't say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. Two more. Nope.
Boo.
Hang on, you haven't got it yet, but you probably will.
No, but I just thought for sure that he might do it.
He had to
Excited.
just he had to blind guess.
Yeah.
There was no clues for the words he had left. He just had to blind guess.
But those two are the two that were the leftovers from the previous.
Yes, this was for brawl.
Yeah, I knew that was.
It was row, not row.
Right.
Right.
I knew it was weird and
I was
lateral.
nervous about that, though.
But we still have.
Yeah, I understand.
I knew it was weird and lateral, but I figured I would go for it. There was really hard finding twos at all for our words. On the other hand, they haven't won yet.
Exactly. Nikki's got to come up with a good clue.
Country.
Okay.
Yeah. There's pretty much no way you weren't going to get that.
That was one of my other thoughts, but I decided to
As far as
avoid
what,
that.
for security?
So
See, that's
possibly security, but
Security was lock and fence.
I know, but that's
Yeah.
what I thought
I was
this might
thinking
be one,
America.
too. Was
America for security.
Oh, interesting.
But
I thought,
here's something I want to point out. I know that death is not one of our words because you would have given a different clue for
death row.
Death row.
yeah.
Here's the thing, though. When you had state capital, right, in the last game, state and capital,
Right.
Sacramento, too, is not a legitimate clue for state capital.
Right, that's why I said location, right?
And I'm saying it's not legitimate because it's not a clue for state. It is a
Right.
clue for capital. In other words, you can't make the phrase death row.
Well, no, you wouldn't. You can't in this game.
How would I clue death and row?
Prison.
Jail.
I see what you're saying. See,
What was the other
row-
answer?
Murder.
Right, but murder doesn't apply to row, does it? It applies to death row.
Murderer's Row.
You can't clue you can't clue two cards as in a combination like that. Is what I'm saying. That's not cluing just the word row.
I don't know, but Murderer's Row is absolutely the same thing as Death Row, right?
If I said murderers,
No,
then
Okay.
you're right.
Yeah.
Then death and row completely makes sense.
but prison, I think, does too. I mean,
Prison
you can
doesn't
take a
clue row.
right, not necessarily, but you could take a shot at it, right? I get it.
No, I'm saying it's
Is death one of your words?
No, it's potentially an illegal. I'm saying it's potentially an illegal clue.
Mm-hmm.
Prison for row, I think, is potentially an illegal clue.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Or rather, if the other team said, "Guys, I wouldn't fight that because it does seem very tenuous to me." Just the same way that Sacramento is not a clue for
in our
state.
game. I would have never fought you guys on that one,
Right.
Because
Well,
I
'cause we
feel
play
that-
friendly, too.
But I agree. I feel that's a fair clue because row refers to prison, absolutely, positively. You don't have to make death row and these to go together.
Yeah. Lap, lock, fence, trunk, row, fighter, Olympus, slip. They weren't great. I thought of doing slip lock, like as in boating, right? Like a boat, like a lock and a slip. But there was no good word that would get you to that. If I said dock, too, would you have gotten lock and slip?
I don't think so.
Is that how you spell that?
Yeah.
That's how you spell the boat lock?
Yeah,
I wasn't
pretty
also sure. Because,
But is it really? Is that the lock that you're referring to? I don't even know. Only locks I think of are on canals.
Yeah.
okay, so, but that's spelled L-O-C-K?
Yeah.
Okay. I was unsure, and then when I saw lock fence, I went, well, lock fence is not bad.
It's just funny because both Rusty and I thought security for America. You know.
Well, there's something to be said for definitely overthinking stuff in this game.
Absolutely.
On both sides of the fence.
Right.
When you went, well, I see 2 for security, I'm thinking inwardly, pick
Then you
them.
get to 4 or
Pick
something
them.
on that
And then
one?
you're like, well, I see a 3rd. I'm like, stop seeing. Just pick 2. And you're like, well, I see
Yeah,
a
but that was
4th.
my
I'm like,
problem here. for
Rusty,
this
stop
one.
seeing.
For this one, because she said pickled, and I'm like, oh, pits, maybe, like
Yeah.
olive, right? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go with this first.
Thank
It was
Because
great.
I thought this might be part of the brawl,
Right?
Right.
right?
Sometimes you don't pick a clue
Yeah.
based on something. It doesn't matter why. I thought that was a great clue for that. It was going to get olive for sure. I thought at the very least you'd pick olive and stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like it was one of these two,
Yeah.
and I felt
I
this
wanted. I actually was trying to get bottle in America together, and I wanted to give you the clue 4th of July, so you would maybe think bottle rocket, but I'm like, I'm pushing it.
Ooh, you might have got him to torch with 4th of July.
Exactly, and that scared me.
That was the
because torch
assassin
was
word.
the bad one. And I kept thinking a really good clues for you and Olympus, but it would include torch, and
Right.
that would be the end of the game, so it kind of sucked.
I was very happy just to find some 2s.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are people out there who will type in, this would have been perfect. You could have done a 3 with
Oh, of
this.
course. It's so hard to get, in your mind what they can even be. The
Yep.
previous game, I didn't have a 3. That was pretty awesome. So, you know what I mean? Like that, I felt if I could get 2, it was a miracle.
Yep.
Thankfully, that in the end that worked out for those. But I was so nervous because capital can easily be misread by people, right?
Yeah, totally.
2.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
Yeah.
I came close. I really did.
So what do you think, Nikki?
I enjoy this game very much. It's a lot of fun being on either side,
Absolutely.
guessing or coming up with the clues. I enjoy that it's words because to me it feels like there's more choices when it's words versus like pictures or...
Well, there is a picture version of this coming. So,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
But the picture version has multiple pictures on a card.
Well, yeah, it's not multiple pictures, it's interpretation. At least in the stuff we saw, is this a pelican in a globe? You know what I mean?
Right.
In other words, that one's an obvious one, but there were ones that you're like, what is that?
My point is, it's not like just an elephant.
Exactly.
It's like an elephant, and then there's like a treasure chest with like a sword. I mean, in other words, there's ways you can do weird links.
It just
versus...
seems, to me, that one seems really difficult to make the content for. Words is definitely more, simpler. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I enjoy it a lot. It's a really fun party game. It can get more frantic with more people, more
Well,
teams
plus
and
it draws
stuff.
crowds.
It
This
does
game
draw
always draw crowds.
because you can just what's happening. You can just look over someone's shoulder on either side
Well, you
and
can play
kind
it,
of
right?
play
Yeah.
it silently to yourself. And that's even fun too, to just be an observer. So,
Oh, yeah.
because then you are second guessing. I wouldn't have given that clue. That's going to lead that guy in totally wrong direction, and so you can second guess the whole thing. And just watching is fun. So that makes it a cool game. A lot
Absolutely.
of games are not.
Yeah.
If you're not involved in the game, you don't want to
Right.
stand there and
Right.
watch it.
What do you think, Russ?
This really, really hits my wheelhouse because I enjoy
Apparently
puzzles.
not.
No,
He's still had fun.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You know I'm 100% kidding.
But this hits puzzles. It hits
Yeah.
finding patterns. It's creative. It reminds me a little bit of another game called Set, where you're looking for things that connect together. Interesting. And so you're trying to find this rapidly. We don't have a lot of time to actually sit here. We don't have 10 or 20 minutes to go, oh, I found it. This is the word. We've never brought in the timer on this, but I know people have sat there and after 2 minutes they're going like, come on, bring out the timer. And they want the game to move along because they want to be creative as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's that tension of trying to find the right word, but that time limit of, I don't have all day.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's the compromises, and you go, that word, it's right there, I can't get it out.
That's the only potential ding, and it's not my ding because I love this game, is you don't want to rush someone. You want to give them the chance to be able to find that connection, but sometimes there just aren't a lot of them.
Right.
I mean, I think that I'm pretty good at this game, and I was hard-pressed to find a 2 a couple of times. I mean, I was very pleased with my RAW Fighter 2, and this was, I was just trusting you that you would see that this wasn't row in my mind, that you would read it that way, and I think you eventually got there.
As soon as my turn ended, it immediately was there, and so it's in the back of my mind. I'm going to leave it there, but I wanted to.
Yeah, see, my problem with all that is that I'm not necessarily great at tracking the previous turn. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, it's so hard. Like we.
Well, you
played
don't have
game-
to be, right?
But sometimes you do. Like when it's one that you're like, what did they say and how many clues did they give me? When you didn't guess all that you could. And that's rough. I mean, that's just my ability, right? I'm not really great at retaining that. I'm okay at memory games sometimes, and this kind of has that element in it. But it's still really, really amazing. We played this game in prototype form, and it was like a very short time before it had been developed. And I think the story is that Vlaada developed this game in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He had the game in idea and the game in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's just
It's just insanely spectacular.
it's so great and
Yeah.
also frustrating, right? Because this is exactly the kind of game that I wish I had done.
I'm probably
Yeah.
pushing,
You
but
know?
I mean, it was very quickly. He had something put together so quickly, and I know that they rushed to get it out because it's one of those things where like that idea gets out there and other people are
Yeah.
going to do it. I mean, I know that people were making up their own versions of this on spreadsheets and stuff, immediately playing
Well,
it
people
online.
are just playing their own versions of it now.
Yes.
I've seen Codenames where people put 25 game box tops out.
That's cool.
We were at a convention and someone played Code Tables because there were 25 actual tables in the room. So your clues had to relate to either the people or the games being played at those tables.
Oh my goodness.
And you had to like
goodness.
run around. I didn't play it. I can't imagine that was as fun as it sounds.
You have to do that from
Because just giving clues, you'd have to like walk around the room a million times. Sorry.
right. No, that's okay. But I was thinking you kind of have to play that one at Gen Con when you have the bird's eye view in some of those locations.
Yeah.
But you could do this game with 25 anything. If you
I
had
know, I
25
read
different
about
like
some of
beer
those things.
coasters or go ahead.
They've even done this. CGE came out to BGG Con last year and did a LARPing version of this where everyone had a word on their chest.
Oh, really?
And teams gave clues and that you had to run around and see what the other people were, and you were writing down what you think the words were based off of those clues.
Yeah, this
So
is
it's-
an amazing game. I mean, for the amount of depth that's in there and its flexibility, it's just ridiculously great.
The thing for me that makes it great is what you said about not being able to remember things, or, for example, knowing that row is also the word row, or any of those things. Those are all helpful. They're not dominating, right? You still have a perfect chance to win this game, whether you keep stuff in your memory or not.
Yeah.
You have a perfect chance to win this game, whether you have a full command of the language or not. In fact, arguably, having an encyclopedia command of language could almost be a detriment depending on who your partner is and how you choose to play. You could be too smart for your own good in this game. And you can be not smart at all and still be fine. I mean, that's what's really cool about it. I mean, I would like to think those things are a slight advantage for a team, but it's not dominating, which is what I love. And the assassin also is what makes the whole thing extra great. And the fact that you can pick
Tube.
That you can pick another thing. My picking one of your words in the first game, right?
Yeah, it was helpful.
Brought you from back to.
Yeah.
It's just neat. It's really neat.
It's really, really well done.
Yep.
Super great game and super simple. Really neat. And the art is really fun, too.
Yep,
I
agreed.
mean, I don't know that the spy theme is necessarily important, but it's fun, you know?
And I think they have another set of cards that they may or may not come out with, but like you get so many cards for this
Yeah,
game.
that's a lot.
It's not like you're gonna need a new set. I don't think you're ever gonna necessarily.
And they're double-sided.
Right. I don't think
So-
you're ever necessarily gonna run out of these cards to the point where like, oh, there's that again. But it could be if you play with a regular group that you have your own weird shorthand for certain things. You know how like in Time's Up, a misclue in round 1 or 2 becomes the definitive
joke,
clue
yeah,
for the rest of the
exactly,
game for something like this somehow means like Dracula, even though it doesn't make any sense. Or I suppose you could have something like that here, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
But it's also really great with 6. My favorite version of the game is actually one person gives to their team of 2. And the 2 people can kind of
Talk
talk
about
stuff
it, yeah.
out. And then as the clue giver, you can sort of hear your team talking stuff out. And that actually gives you information as to what clues you could or should not give them in the future.
Right.
Like, okay, these people think that Peru is in Africa. So I can say Africa later and they might pick Peru. I don't know, something like that.
That's neat. Well, thanks for teaching us, Dave.
You're welcome.
Yeah.